हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, हाउ इज़ योर प्रिपरेशन गोइंग ऑन। अगर आज का पेपर आप लोगों ने देखा होगा तो मोस्टली द न्यूज़पेपर इज कवरिंग सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स वर्डिक्ट ऑन द एनलमेंट ऑफ इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स। जो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड स्कीम था विच द गवर्नमेंट ब्रॉट इन 2018, it has been struck down by Supreme Court. So majority of the articles in today's newspaper is related with the same one. So that we will be taking up in detail. The second thing which we will be taking in detail is use of AI and infringement in creativity. Can the use of AI lead to the curtailment of the human creativity? Because there is an instance where one music producer used someone's voice to used AI to create some music, some person who created music, उनका voice use करके, उनका AI use करके उनके voice को recreate करा गया है with the help of AI. So the second question is about that. Few years back UPSC did ask a question on something related to media and censorship and the curtailment on the this creativity thing of human beings. So there was a question some years back in UPSC. Again UPSC might ask a question on use of AI and whether it is an infringement or it is a curtailment, or it might lead to reduction of use of human creativity in music industry or in any field or any sector. So the second article we will be taking up is this one. So let's begin with the first article, that is Supreme Court strikes down electoral bond scheme. So let's have a look at this article and let's understand what the Supreme Court has said. If you read the second line, which says that in a landmark unanimous judgment, the Supreme Court on Thursday struck down. Yes, we were saying that we were going to look at the Supreme Court's striking down the electoral bond scheme in detail. Let's read the article, which says that in a landmark unanimous judgment, the Supreme Court on Thursday struck down as unconstitutional and manifestly arbitrary the electoral bond scheme. So what has been struck down? The electoral bond scheme, which provides blanket anonymity to political donors as well as critical legal amendments allowing rich corporations to make unlimited political donations. So Supreme Court not had just struck down electoral bond scheme, but various other amendments which government brought to bring this electoral bond scheme. So some of the amendments were made in a Companies Act, etc. That we will look in detail. So this is the meaning of the first line. Then the next line says that D.Y. Chandrachud held that the scheme and the preceding amendments made to the Representation of People Act, the Companies Act and the Income Tax Act violated. So here are the yes. So the scheme, and then these are the areas in which the amendments were made to bring electoral bond scheme. So these amendments has also been struck down by Supreme Court. In the next line says that the lead opinion authored by Justice Chandrachud said that the absolute non-disclosure of the source of political funding through electoral bonds promoted corruption and a culture of quid pro quo. Quid pro quo मतलब क्या होता है? लेन देन, एक हाथ से लीजिए और एक हाथ से दीजिए. So if some political parties has some corporation or some multinational company or some industrialist has money, he or she can buy electoral bonds and fund the political party of his choice and might influence various policies brought by the government, various economic policies brought by the government. This might lead to economic inequality as well. So in further article, in further detail, we'll see that there is a statement that electoral economic inequality brings political inequality. So electoral bond scheme might lead to economic inequality, which might lead to political inequality in India as well. So next it says that with the ruling party to introduce a policy change or for bagging license, the scheme and the amendments authorized unrestrained influence of corporates in the electoral bonds process. So there is a nexus between money and politics, as we said. Just read this small gist in line which has been written. Issuance of electoral bonds to be stopped. SBI to submit full details of bonds purchased by donors. ECI to publish the entire information given by SBI on its website by March 13. The party said that the government introduced electoral bonds as a part of its efforts to reform election commission. So the BJP government did bring electoral bond scheme in 2018. So in defense, the party has said that this electoral bond scheme was brought to reform electoral fundings and to bring more transparency. That was their rationale behind bringing electoral bond scheme, as they have said. So let's read about this article in deconstructed and detailed manner through some content. And if you see on editorial page as well, let's have a look. This article, this editorial page, unbounded. So this will be again in continuation of the electoral bond scheme, the first article which we read. And before we take the things in detail, just have a look at page number 15. Go to page number 15 and look at this point, the chronology of the events, this portion, the chronology of events on page number 15. So these are the three articles which you have to take one after another in detail, and they are connected with each other. So take up the article accordingly, which can complete for you one article in a go. So the first thing which I showed on the first page and the on editorial page, that is unbounded, and the second the chronology event. So just read that, you know, how the developments happen with respect to electoral bond scheme. There has been year, like, you know, in 2017 the electoral bond scheme was introduced in the finance bill. Then in 2017 further there was a PIL filed by an NGO, and then in 2022 as you can read. So in 2022, D.Y. Chandrachud refers pleas against the scheme to a 5-judge constitution bench. If you read the next line, 2023, this says that Supreme Court has reserved the verdict. In 2024, the scheme has been annulled unanimously by Supreme Court in this judgment. So this is latest news. It says that saying it violates constitutional rights to freedom of speech and expression as well as the right to information under Article 19(1)(a), that we will take up in detail. So let's deconstruct the article. Let's deconstruct the entire news through the help of the content. So what is the context of electoral bond scheme? See, electoral bond scheme, the Supreme Court on Thursday, February 15, that is yesterday, struck down several amendments that the government made in key laws to facilitate corporate donations to political parties. So electoral bond scheme has been struck down along with various amendments which were brought to enforce or to bring electoral bond scheme. That both the things have been struck down. So the amendments were made through Finance Act 2016, Finance Act 2017, before EBC was introduced in January 2018. And then the next line, Supreme Court asserted that transparency regarding funding to political parties is crucial for informed electoral decisions, affirming why Supreme Court, what was the rationale? Supreme Court said that the transparency regarding funding the political parties is crucial for informed electoral decisions, affirming that the scheme infringes upon the right to information under Article 19(1)(a). And then electoral bonds are money instruments. What is the meaning of electoral bonds? Look at this statement. Electoral bonds are money instruments that act as promissory notes or bearer bonds that can be purchased by individuals or companies in India. Who can buy these promissory notes that were electoral bonds? That could be bought by individuals or the companies in India. They are issued specifically for the contribution of funds to the political parties. So for which they were issued? They were issued to fund the political parties. SBI is the only bank authorized to issue such electoral bonds. These are the some facts about electoral bonds. It was 100% tax exemption. It enjoyed 100% tax exemption. Supreme Court directed the State Bank of India to stop issuing such electoral bonds. These are some of the information about this. Let's have understanding what were the issues, and then what were the why Supreme Court annulled the that particular point, and then what was the rationale behind Supreme Court. Let's look at each issue one by one. So what is the first issue? What was the first issue which was taken into consideration? The first issue, the first question is, does the electoral bond scheme violate the right to information under Article 19(1)(a)? Yes. Supreme Court's verdict क्या कहता है इसमें? The electoral bond scheme violates the right to information under Article 19(1)(a), which guaranteed the freedom of speech and expression. Now, what was the rationale of the Supreme Court? There is a deep association between money and politics. So, money and politics are associated with each other. Money enhances the access to legislature and raises the legitimate possibility of quid pro quo, as we read. So, economic inequality contributes to political equality, which we read. What was the second issue which was taken up? And then what was the rationale behind handling that particular thing? The second issue is curbing circulation of black money in electoral financing a legitimate reason to restrict the right to information? So, as the party which brought this thing, electoral bond scheme, said that they intended to curb the circulation of black money in the funding of the, this electoral funding. So, Supreme Court said that RTI can only be restricted based on Article 19(2). I mean, the question in the issue is that this RTI was restricted because it was intended to curb circulation of black money in electoral financing. This was an issue, but Supreme Court said that RTI can only be restricted only and only on one ground, that is Article 19 clause 2, which mentions the reasonable restrictions to freedom of speech and expression. The reasonable restrictions do not include curbing black money as a restriction under Article 19(2). So, RTI ki unavailability. The restrictions to get RTI is baseless because Article 19(2) does not provide any such consideration which might not be given about electoral funding, etc. Then, what was the rationale? The restrictions on the right to information in the electoral bond scheme fails the court's proportionality test laid down in the case Puttaswamy case verdict or the right to privacy. An infringement of the right to information is not proportionally justified to curb black money electoral financing. Okay? Then what was the second issue? Third issue, whether the right to privacy of donor is a valid grounds for the infringement of RTI. So the second issue was that, which was taken up, is that does curbing right to information on this electoral bonds was with some reasoning, or it was a baseless. So Supreme Court said that it is baseless. The right to information should have been available to avail the information on electoral bond funding. What was the rationale behind it? It says that the restrictions on the right to information in the electoral bond scheme fails to the test of court's proportionality test. What is proportionality? Proportionality test is to see whether the means employed by the government to achieve the outcome was in the proportion or not. This is proportionality test laid down in case Puttaswamy case verdict or the right to privacy. An infringement of the right to information is not proportionality justified to curb black money in electoral financing. What was the issue 3? Whether the right to privacy of donor is a valid ground for the infringement of RTI. Whether the right to privacy of the donor is a valid ground for the infringement of RTI. Supreme Court verdict said that the court held that right to privacy of the political affiliations does not extend to those corporate contributions which may be made to influence the policies. It only extends to contributions made as a genuine form of political support. So this also has been denied, and the rationale was that huge contribution made by corporations should not be allowed to conceal the reasons for financial contributions made by other sections of the population. What was the issue for? The issue, fourth issue which was talked about was whether unlimited political contributions by companies are unconstitutional. Supreme Court verdict said that the court held the amendment section 182 clause 3 of the Companies Act 2013 as unconstitutional as it violates Article 14. This amended sections permitted unlimited political contributions by the companies, and Supreme Court rationale said that contributions made by companies are purely business transactions made with the intent of securing benefits in the return. The ability of companies to influence the political process through contributions much higher compared to individuals. So these are 3-4 issues which were highlighted, and Supreme Court took up each issue in detail, and with proper rationale it struck down electoral bond scheme. What was the since then what is the solution? How the fundings to the elections can be done without any unfair practices? There is a Law Commission report which you can take a reference of, which says that this is the 255th report of Law Commission on electoral financing, which says that extend regulation of election expenses from date of nomination to date of notification. So, and public disclosure of electoral expenses, documents submitted by the candidates, submission of the audited annual report should be there, disclose contributions of less than rupees 20,000 if such contribution extend INR 20 crore or 20% of the party's total contribution, whichever is less. So all these things, some of the recommendation you can take from Law Commission's recommendation on electoral finance, that is 255th report. These are some, and then next point which says that penalty of 5 times. Penalty of, then the next point, penalty of 5 times the contribution received if such contribution received from an eligible donor, ineligible donor under Companies Act of Representation of People Act. State funding of election not feasible, in-kind subsidies should be provided. So these are the some of the recommendation of Law Commission in this 255th report, which you can use to write what should be, a way ahead. All these things you might mention in your answer. If some questions like, just say, if you take up just write down a practice question which I have given, discuss the challenges related to electoral financing in India, 150 marks, 150 words, 10 marks. In this, you can write what is the electoral bond, the context, and some of the issues which were taken up by Supreme Court, and by giving a rationale on each issue it was struck down. Those issues you can mention, and then you can mention in way ahead. You can mention the Law Commission's report, 255th report, and then with some conclusion in which you take some reference from this point, that a clean and transparent electoral funding process is vital to ensure a fair electoral democracy. Most developed countries in the West have robust mechanisms to ensure transparency in their political system. As India aspires to emulate the West by setting the ambitions of achieving developed country status by 2047, it must aspire for similar standards of transparency in political sphere. So all this is how you can approach and this is how you can attempt this question which I have given for you to practice. Try to write the answer and see if you can complete the answer by this content. Let's take up the next article. Just look at this picture. Look at this picture, just and then only refer this point. Purulia Chhau, a folk dance from Bengal being performed by Tarapada Rajak and team at a college. So Purulia Chhau is from where? It is Bengal. What form it is? It is a folk dance. So this is important for PT point of view. This you can take in reference. The one which next article which we need to take up in detail is it ethical to use AI to clone voices for creative purposes? This is our second article which we need to take up in detail. Similar kind of question UPSC have asked previously. So I predict some question surrounding this topic might again be asked by UPSC in mains examination, which says that let's read the article, understand, and further we will take some content in detail to enable us to deal any question, any kind of question if UPSC asks on this particular topic. So let's read. Recently, music composer A.R. Rahman tweeted that song Thimri Yazura from Tamil film Lal Salam uses an artificial intelligence software to create the voices of singers Bamba Bakya and Shahul Hamid. So this has been mentioned by A.R. Rahman. The use of AI was there, but it was not without permission from the family. The consent was taken from the family, and proper compensation to the singers of this family were given. It was not without permission. So, but then question arises, is the use of AI for creativity is good? Is it not going to compromise on human creativity? So, on these lines, let's deconstruct this, understand this article. First of all, try to understand this question which I have given. Creativity and AI. Can creativity and AI coexist? Examine. 150 words, 10 marks. Creativity and AI can coexist. Examine. 150 words, 10 marks. Try to think what all you can write. So in the context, you can, if this kind of question comes, in the context you can mention the ongoing news, that was A.R. Rahman's use of AI to create the voices of those singers which are no more. And with that context, then you can develop the debate in introduction written, and then write further. Human creativity is a valuable asset that cannot be replicated by AI. So human creativity can never be replicated by AI. It is a unique ability possessed by humans that allows them to generate new ideas and solve complex problems. Human creativity is driving force behind innovation and progress in many industries. Even film industry also comes under this. So, but then unlike that works with predefined set of rules, human creativity is limitless. So you have to write a bit about the benefits of human creativity and how human creativity will always surpass the skills of AI. The creativity generated by AI can never be surpassed, can never surpass human creativity. So idea you have to build in your next line, and then last connecting line you can write that you have to then prove that there can be a collaboration between AI and human creativity to yield better result. Ultimate objective क्या होता है creativity का? To provide something new which might serve the humanity, be it any industry, be it pharmaceuticals, be it music industry, be it creative industry, be it media, anywhere. So it's then the answer should develop the idea that there should be a collaboration between AI and human creativity, because AI is the reality of today. We cannot escape use of AI. So what should be the way ahead? The way ahead is to have a collaboration between AI and human creativity. That is how you can develop. For example, you can mention some examples, and then you can mention some examples of successful collaboration between AI and creativity. Like further in the field of education, AI powered tutoring systems are becoming more prevalent. Then successful collaboration between AI and human creativity. For example, जो last line में लिखा है, look at this line. Successful collaboration between AI and human creativity is a result of understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both AI and human creativity. So last में when you have put quite a good case about point that there should be a collaboration between humans and AI, human creativity and AI, then you have to also highlight some challenges which might be brought by use of AI to produce creativity in the, and to use AI in the areas of creativity. Further to then you have to give a solution also, and the solution you can write like successful collaboration between AI and human creativity is a result of understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both human and AI, human creativity and AI. So both of even the human creativity has challenges, has limitations, even the AI has its limitations. So a better collaboration to deal with such limitations and produce something better for this, for the use of for the use of humanity and for their better entertainment, or for better kind of any, be it in the education, be it creative, anywhere. So for the better use of AI and human creativity, let's deal with the challenges, and challenges how the limits can be eliminated by better collaboration between AI and human creativity. So this line, and then you can conclude by saying that AI and human creativity has been an ongoing one. So you can mention it is not something new, it is an ongoing one. While AI has made significant progress in creating realistic art, music and even poetry, some argue that it is incapable of truly understanding the intricacies of human emotions and applying them to creative outputs. So जो लोगों के concerns है that AI might negatively impact human creativity, so you can build the case that AI will never surpass the human creativity because of such and such point, because AI can never be capable of truly understanding the intricacies of human emotions and applying them to creative outputs. That is why human creativity will never fail. This raises the question of whether AI can truly replicate human creativity, or whether humans will always hold the edge in this area. Humans will always hold the edge in this area. Ultimately, the answer may lie in striking a balance. So what we said, that strike a balance, there should be collaboration between use of AI and human creativity to produce better results, be it in any industry, education, music, anywhere. So these are the kind of takeaways you can mention, and conclusion you can mention for the balance between the two. This is how you can deal with AI aspect. There has been a lot of discussion about use of AI, ethicality of AI. Some in previous discussions, some of the previous discussions of DNA analysis, we have covered artificial intelligence challenges, ethical issues involved with use of AI, etc. You can go back to that session and understand all these points and all these dimensions as well. Today, which we discuss, is the collaboration between AI and human creativity, in particular with the music industry and in the context of A.R. Rahman using AI to produce the voices of those singers which are no more there. So this is all about today's The Hindu newspaper analysis. I'll see you tomorrow with more articles. Today there was much more information on electoral bond scheme only. There was not much article. So every day, now I think 2-3 more days there will be news surrounding this electoral bond scheme. You have to understand what is electoral bond scheme, what were the issues, various issues which Supreme Court took up and gave rationale while striking down those issues, and some articles like Article 14, Article 19(1)(a), which we covered. And then in conclusion, we also saw that how to deal with then electoral financing. We saw Law Commission's 255th report, which you can mention in way ahead. And then in conclusion, you might write some case, Puttaswamy case, and we also looked at doctrine of proportionality, which is important for police point of view. So this is it about today's newspaper. This is all. There's nothing much to read. I'll see you tomorrow in another detailed discussion of newspaper analysis. All the best. Keep reading well. Tathastu.